What's going on, Yu-Gi-Oh fans? Platinum Cards in the house, and today I'm going to be coming to you with my updated Vernusylph deck profile. This is slowly starting to become one of my favorite decks to mess around with, and I really am having a pleasure with this deck. So of course, if you like what you see, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, because it does go a long way to getting my channel more views and more people coming in, and just building a bigger community, you know? So let's go ahead and start. So first of all, I like to play 2 copies of the brand new boss monster, Vera, the Vernusylph Goddess. This card is super dope. Its effect is once per turn. When a monster effect activated by your opponent resolves, if you control 5 or more earth monsters, you can negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. You can only use each of the following effects of this card once per turn. You can target one face-up monster your opponent controls, take control of it, and if you do, it becomes an earth. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can target one earth monster in your graveyard, special summon it. So, as you can tell, it's kind of like a Swiss Army knife, has a couple of different effects, works really well in this deck. Plus, it effectively is like the boss monster for the archetype. So, really would recommend running this at 2. I don't know about running it at 3, just because of the first effect with the 5 or more earth monsters there. Because there's sometimes you come up with a situation where you don't have 5 or more, you know what I'm saying? So that's why I like it at 2. However, I'm sure there would be people that would like to run it at 3, and I wouldn't blame you for it, because it's a nice card. Next, I like to play triple copies of Vernusylph of the Misting Seedlings. Quacky boy. Alright, so this thing's effect is all monsters on the field lose 600 attack except Vernusylph monsters. You can discard this card and one monster or Vernusylph card. You cannot activate non-Earth monster effects for the rest of this turn. Also, add one Earth Fairy monster from your deck to your hand, except Vernusylph of the Missing Seedlings. Then you can special summon one Earth monster from your graveyard. So, this is really good, Searcher. Plus, special summon an Earth from your graveyard after its effect already pops off of, popping 2 in the grave. So, really good just for getting a body on the field, plus the search ability. I really like this card. I used to run, actually, Asua, the Earth Channeler, and I just think this is a better version of that. So, that's why I decided to take that out and go for this thing. Next, I like to play triple copies of Vernusylph of the Awakening Forest. Now, this card is also super dope. You can discard this card, add one monster or Vernusylph, and one monster or Vernusylph card, sorry. Send from your deck to the graveyard one Earth monster that can be normal summon / set. Then you can special summon one Earth monster from your graveyard with a different name from that monster. Also, you cannot activate non-Earth monster effects with this turn. You can target one Vernusylph monster you control. Its attack becomes double until the end of the turn. So, again, good card, Foolish Burialish. I do like this card. So, 3. Next, I like to play triple copies of Vernusylph of the Flourishing Hills. And this card is also super dope. Its effect is Vernusylph monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. You can discard this card and one monster or Vernusylph card. Add one Vernusylph card from your deck to your hand, except Vernusylph of the Flourishing Hills. So that pretty much covers every single card that we just showed so far, plus a couple more going forward. Then you can special summon one Earth monster from your graveyard. Also, you cannot activate non-Earth monsters this turn. You can only use this effect once per turn. So, really good. A lot of these cards are really good searchers, really good ability to dump stuff in the grave, and that's the type of deck I really like. Just this being able to do that type of stuff is just really intriguing to me for some reason. I also like to play 3 copies of Winnie the Pooh, Vernusylph of the Thawing Mountains, and 3 copies of the most adorable card out of all the adorable cards, Vernusylph of the Flowering Fields. Both of these cards are really good. Basically, you discard this card plus one monster or Vernusylph card, and this one lets you add an Earth monster to your hand, and then this one, I think, it special summons an Earth monster from the grave, so works really well. Next, I like to play triple copies of Tenyi Spirit Adhara. I really like this card, because if you control no effect monsters, you can special summon it, so really easy special summon. Plus, it is a tuner, which allows us to go into our, where are they? Our Naturia Synchro monsters. So, like Naturia Beast, etc. Those cards are really good just for overall negates. And this enables us to perform some Naturia tomfoolery. So, really do like that. Next, I like to play triple copies of Thrawn, the Discipled Angel. Thrawn's effect is if a monster that was originally an Earth Fairy is sent from your hand or field to the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card from your hand. That happens so much, as I read through all the effects earlier, so it happens in an insane amount. So it's a really easy way to special summon itself. So next, I like to play 2 copies of Barrier Statue of the Drought. Now, previously, I was playing one copy of Barrier Statue of the Drought and one copy of Fossil Dyna Pulpchio, but I decided it might have been better to just run two of these, just in case. Now, if you want to run one and one, or you want to run two of these, and then none of those, like, I can completely see that. But this will lock you out of special summons. So, if you can just normal summon this after you get all your special summons off. But if you're ever in a situation where, you need, this is on the field, you need to special summon, or it's kind of over or whatever, I feel like it kind of can get in the way sometimes. So that's why I decided to take that one out. Next, any hand trap you want, really. I decided to go with DD Crow. It is one of the best ones right now. If you want to go the Bestial route, completely understandable. If you want to go the Herald of the Orange Light route, completely understandable. If you want to go traditional Ash Blossom, hey, it's more power to you, man. It's just whatever you see fit. That's why I always leave a little bit of a gap here with the hand traps, because people like to experiment with things, that work. But I would definitely recommend something that banishes from the grave in the modern meta. Moving forward to the spell cards, I like to play triple copies of Vernusylph Corolla. All earth monsters you control are treated as Vernusylph monsters. Once per turn, if you were to discard a Vernusylph monsters and one card to activate the effect of a Vernusylph monster in your hand, you can discard only that Vernusylph monster instead. I love this card. Monsters card, really, really good. Must have 3 of in this deck, just because of the fact that it saves other cards in your hand from getting discarded. So I like this card. I really genuinely think that it's needed in this deck. Next, I like to play one copy of Vernusylph in Full Bloom. So the story behind this is I bought one copy of this. I don't know why. I thought I had bought 3, but I didn't. I accidentally bought 1. And then I ordered 2 more, but then I liked this card at 3 or at 1, so I never really bumped it up or tried to mess around with it or anything. All monsters you control gain 1,000 attack. While you control 5 or more Earth monsters, you can only use each of the following effects once per turn. You can banish 1 Vernusylph and the Flowering Buds from your hand or graveyard. Special summon 1 Veer the Vernusylph Goddess from your deck. If a Vernusylph monster is special summoned from the graveyard, except during the damage step, you can target 1 monster in the field and in either graveyard return it to the hand. So I would say it's a good card. You just have to make full use of it. I would say you need 5 monsters in the field, right? 5 or more Earth monsters. So it's not going to happen all the time. So that's why I decided to leave it at 1. But when it does happen, it's a really good card. Next, last two spell cards, Called by the Grave, Foolish Burial. I think these are pretty standard, just to get rid of annoying traps or hand traps, and then just to get rid of or just to dump your own cards in the grave for when it's needed. However, this I feel like is starting to become less and less of something that I see myself using, because every time I run against Bestials, it doesn't really apply. So might be something that I go take out in the future. It depends. I'll take it to locals and see how that goes. But this might be an outlandish statement, honestly. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes at locals. But moving forward to the trap cards. 2 copies of Vernusylph in the Changing Seasons. You can target 1 Vernusylph monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, or special summon it. During your opponent's turn, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard. If you have no cards in your hand, you can banish this card from your graveyard, special summon as many Vernusylph monsters as possible with different names from your graveyard, but return them back to your hand at the end phase. So this is insane. I really, really like this card. I was contemplating running this at 3, but then I was like, it's a trap card. Didn't really like it. It is a little bit slower just because it is a trap card. So that's why I decided to run it at 2. However, you can just use your Vernusylph effects to dump it in the grave anyway, right? So so there's that. But I like this at 2 just because I like to throw in some other cards in there. Next, I got 2 copies of Vernusylph and the Flower Buds. Target face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Earth monsters you control with different names that were special summoned from the graveyard. Return Earth monsters you control to the hand equal to the number of targets. And if you do, where am I? Oh, that's what? Equal to the number of targets. And if you do return at least 1 to the hand, return targeted cards to the hand, which is crazy. It can ruin your opponent's day, which is really nice. Next, I like to play 2 copies of Gozen Match. Everything I'm running pretty much is Earth. There are a couple of extra deck exceptions, but for the most part, everything I'm running is Earth, and this has potential. Floodgates right now are all the hullabaloo, right? They have potential to screw over a lot of different decks. So I really, really do like this card. I mentioned this in my last video too, my last Vernusylph deck profile. But if you don't like that, I would definitely recommend messing around with Dark Ruler No More, just in case you're going second and whatnot. Probably the way to go. But I feel like Gozen Match then was a little bit more of a test. And so I had mentioned that back then. But now with the boss monster being an Earth, and then we got a couple of more nice Earth monsters for the extra deck, or at least I'm using more than I was last time. So I feel like this is a little more stable in this deck now than it was before. So that's why that was my reasoning for using that. And I had to cut it to 2 as opposed to I had it to 3 before, because I had to try to figure out how to fit in, you know, some of the new cards in there. So that's why I decided to cut it to 2, and really no other reason. If you'd like it at 3, I can completely understand. Or if you'd like to run Dark Ruler No More, that's another way to go. All right, so moving forward to the extra deck. 1 copy of Asua, the Earth Charmer Immovable. 1 copy of G Golem Stubborn Mahir. Now I just pulled that card from the last pack opening I did, so I really wanted to test it, and it is going really well. So no complaints on my end. 1 copy of G Golem Dignified Triathlon. I don't know how to pronounce that thing. 1 copy of Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. 1 copy of, this one was an experiment, and then I just decided never to take it out, but Pit Knight Yearly, and then the 1 Appaloosa for the negates, and then Access Code Talker. You got to be a little bit careful when summoning this, because you can't activate Earth effects on the same turn, so just something to think about. That's all I'm going to say. Moving forward to the Synchro Monsters. 2 copies of Naturia Beast. This card is insane. It just takes an Earth Tuner plus 1 non-Earth Tuner monsters. Really easy to play or bring out in this deck. When a spell card is activated, quick effect, you can send the top 2 cards of your deck to the grave. Negate the activation if you destroy it. This card must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect. This card is crazy. I'm telling you, one of the best cards. I've single-handedly taken out entire strategies with this card, and it is not once per turn. So I would definitely recommend that you use this card in any Earth deck possible, for sure. Next, I like to play the 1 copy of Naturia Barkion, which is basically does the same for trap cards, so really works nice. Naturia Land Tortoise is also something worth bringing out, or worth testing, I would say, because I think it does it with monster effects. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but I think it works with monster effects. But I didn't happen to have one on me, but I would definitely would recommend something like that. Next, I got the 1 Morphtronic Earfawn and the 1 Scrap Dragon for my rest to round out my Synchro monsters. And then for some of the extra deck, number 41, really good card. Has potential to just annoy your opponent insanely. Plus, it's an Earth monster, so it works pretty well. Abyss Dweller, well, not necessarily an Earth monster. You're going to be using its effect on your opponent's turn anyway to negate their graveyard effects, and it just works really well against a lot of the more meta decks that are happening right now. Shizu Tier Elements, Sprite, etc., etc. So definitely would recommend this card. And then lastly, because we're running all those Xyz monsters, Double Azus, I just threw it in there just because it, has potential to just shut down a lot of different decks. But that is my deck profile. This is honestly, from my experience with this deck, it's super fun. It's super fun to mess around with. It's not going to be the most meta relevant, not right now at least, and it's really, really fun. I'm glad to see that they got some more support, and I'm really having a blast just messing around with it. But you guys can let me know about this deck profile in the comments down below. Oh, a special shout out. I would definitely say World Soul Carbon. That's a good card. That if you're looking into that card for this deck, it's definitely worth it, I would say. But overall, I would say great deck, fun to play with. And you guys can let me know any other cards that you'd like to add, any other cards that you'd like to take away, any other ways I can improve this deck. I am, after all, just a humble duelist trying to learn, trying to improve my deck just like everyone else. And this is Plotter Cards, guys, signing out for the day. And if you like what you see, don't hesitate to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you in the next video.